Namaskar. Welcome to this session. Today we are supposed to commence discussion on the prevalent thought concept that the God is an anthropomorphic concept. This is a modern thought. This is a position taken by definitely atheist people, skeptic people, and those who do not believe in God. Because one who believes in God will not be taking such a view, such a stand, such a position that God is anthropomorphic concept. Anthropomorphic concept means it is human mind which has devised an idea of God. It is human ideation. Man has created God. Man has created image of God. Man has created concept of God, notion of God, idea of God. So that is called as anthropomorphic concept. And one thing should be understood here, that this is a position taken by those who don't believe in God, because those who believe in God would not have such a concept at all, because they accept the God, they accept divinity, they accept Almighty. So this is thought promoted by atheists who really don't believe in God. Because they don't believe in God, for them the God is not a reality. If it is not reality, then how has it come about? So that's why they have taken this position, and they have this notion, and they have spread this notion. And this is a modern notion, modern idea, after the advent of social sciences such as sociology and anthropology. One of the reasons why this has come up is that various religions are positing God, postulating God, and in such a way that there is a rejection of idea of God by other religions. Now, the religions have come up. If you look at the history, when was the first ism established? So that doesn't go back too far back, definitely not beyond 6,000-7,000 years back. 5,000 years back is perhaps the religion that we know today. There are some religions which are that old. And these religions have refuted idea of God, notion of God, concept of God, of other beliefs. Because we have discussed this, that there has been a lot of fight, inter-belief conflicts. Inter-belief conflicts have created more problem to mankind, as we have discussed earlier. So, the very idea of religion, ism in the sense, is not too old. So there are certain religions today we have which are 5,000, 6,000 years old, such as Judaism, Zoroastrianism. So they don't have history beyond 5,000-6,000 years. So that is actually quite a recent development. 5,000-6,000 years back is not too old. It is quite recent. And then came the other religions. Christianity came in, Buddhism came in, Jainism came in, Islamism came in. So each one had different idea. Now, Buddhism and Jainism, actually they rejected the concept of God, idea of God, and classically they are known as Nirishwarvadi darshanas in Indian philosophy. Now, what has happened today is a different thing. Today, they do not have this belief. They are not Nirishwarvadi. What is Buddhism today, Jainism today is one thing, but classically what it was 2500 years back is altogether different, and common man doesn't have idea about Buddhism 2000 years back and Jainism 2000 years back. And about the other religions which have not originated in India, such as Christianity, Judaism, Islamism, they are quite recent. And because they started creating basis for conflicts and bringing up a condition that what we postulate as God is only true and what others are postulating as God is not true. It is because of this that the intellectual class, usually the philosophers in atheism, they are quite intellectual people, intellectual giants. Not that all atheists are intellectually strong, but the philosophers in atheism are definitely quite intellectual. They are well versed in intellectual gymnastics. Not that a very atheist is an intellectual person. Out of lack of intelligence, many of them are atheists. But there are atheistic philosophies in the West. And even in the East, even in India, those who are atheistic, such as Charvaka, and even the heterodox philosophies in Hindu philosophy, as we say today, which is Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, they were intellectually quite strong. They had a lot of skill for intellectual polemics, intellectual gymnastics. If anyone reads those philosophies of classical times, anyway, that is why this idea came in more in the West. Those who were atheists in India, Bharatvarsha, the atheists did not bring forward such an argument. They just did not believe in God. They did not bother about others believing in God. So there were heterodox philosophical systems in India. You get to know that in Sarvadarshana Sangraha. So they did just perhaps had polemics, but they did not float such an idea that the God is anthropomorphic concept. But then it was obvious that between orthodox and heterodox, because the heterodox people did not accept the concept of divinity that was postulated by orthodox systems, they had this feeling, but they did not have this thought floated. They just rejected the concept of God that orthodox Indian philosophers had. But they did not float such an idea. This was floated in the West, that God is anthropomorphic concept. And basically, it was floated by atheists who did not believe in God. So the isms, actually all the isms that we have today, they believe that the God is the creator and this is his creation. Whereas in modern studies in anthropology, you get some theories postulated by sociologists that man created God. And you should know that this is not having history beyond 5,000 years back, 5,000 years. Because the concept of God in the West only came earliest in 5,000 years back as per the history that we have today. That's why Judaism is said to be the oldest religion, because that is more than 5,000 years old. Thus the modern thinkers posit that the God of religion is an anthropomorphic concept. They posit that man imagined the form of God which they could find in theistic beliefs and theistic isms. Now, if you recall, I often said that ism is not actually qualified to postulate God and describe about God and declare fiats on God, because essentially this principle of divinity is a metaphysical principle. Darshanikas in India postulated universal realities, and God is held to be supreme. In all Vedic darshanas, this is unanimous, that it is universal reality. So all the Indian philosophical system had metaphysics, and therefore they not posited and not postulated, but realized. It was a realization in orthodox Hindu philosophies, so-called Hindu philosophies, that it's a universal being and it's a universal reality. Anthropologists need to be informed that undoubtedly man in different regions, in different times and different regions, might have imagined God. Not that the God was not at all imagination of man, yes. In different times, in different eras, we do not know history beyond 5,000 years, actually. So, maybe man imagined God. Common man imagined God. It was not common man's endeavor to explore divinity and then go after those ultimate realities. So common man doesn't go after realizing ultimate realities. And therefore, it is not wrong totally that man never imagined about God. Man did imagine God, and in different times and different eras, in different societies and in different regions on the globe. In different cultures. So many cultures have come and gone. So many civilizations have come and gone. So many ethnic religions, ethnic faiths have come and gone, and might be they have imagined. So it cannot be ruled out that there was never ever imagination about the God. So in common people on this planet, in different times, different regions, different eras, yes, imagination can be inferred and can be accepted. There is no need to refute that the man never imagined God. Man did imagine God. Because common man was not going into inquiry and exploration about the reality with respect to God. Believing in it was convenient for his emotional mindset, his sentimental mindset, and therefore man imagined, and it is not right to say that man never ever imagined God, and the God is never ever imagination of man. Of course it is imagination of man, common man. But in philosophical systems in India, it was not imagination. It was taken as reality, postulated as reality, not merely believed. But if you recall, I told you about Naiyayikas by inference establishing the divinity for atheistic people, those who did not believe in God. For them, by inference, it was only postulated. So, in India it's a different thing. In Bharatavarsha it is different thing. The philosophies in India definitely postulated with logic, intellectual process, and not just depended on belief. Did not just say it should be, the divinity should be only believed, but proved its existence, disproved the theories postulated by the opponents who were atheistic philosophers. The point is, anthropomorphy would not have encouraged or imagined the God in the form of Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha and Kali. If man had imagined divinity, he would not have certainly imagined God in this form, in the form of fish, in the form of boar, in the form of Kurma, the turtle, and in the form of Narasimha and Kali. Because these two forms were really fearsome forms, and there is no logic in holding that man imagined such fearsome, fearful, petrifying image of God. The skeptical anthropomorphists say that human imagination, creativity, intuition have attained exalted heights in conceiving God in such incredible names and forms, which is prevalent in theistic society. However, as I said, divinity, the God, the Ishwara, the Parabrahma, is a matter which has to be handed over to metaphysicists and to mystics. It is only mysticism and metaphysics that should deal with this concept of divinity. And then in mysticism it is said that the whole universe, phenomenal creativity, this creation that we have all around us, is Bhagavad leela. This is sports of divinity. So it is his creation. This creation is his creation. And his creation is in the form of leela, that is his sports. It is not that he has toiled to generate this creation. It is just simple thing like sports for him. It is not that he had to engineer this creation. It was just a sports for him, because being an omniscient, entity, omnipotent entity. It was possible, and it was just a simple thing like Bhagavad Leela. Out of Bhagavad Leela, this prolific creation got unfolded. There is an interesting story or a passage which comes in Shrutis. Now, this is not just a parable, this is not a story actually. This is what the Shrutis are saying. In Aitareya Upanishad, one of the major Upanishads, it is postulated that the Almighty, the God, the Brahma, designed the creation and designed the human being. Human being is his design, his creation, while these anthropomorphists say that God is man's creation. Anyway, while he was in a process of creative engineering, creative skills to turn out universe at the beginning of every cycle. Because you should bear in mind that creation is eternal. The creation comes and goes. Creation and destruction is a cyclic process, not a linear process. But in every creation, the creation has to be launched. It is not that it is created. Because the creation is, the whole creation is timeless. It only appears, disappears, changes, transforms from phenomenal to nominal, and from nominal to phenomenal. So there is nothing like creation as such, as postulated by metaphysics and the mysticism. However, there will be creation launched at the beginning of every cycle called kalpa. And therefore, at that point in time, he creates everything including man. So the fact is, the reality is that the man is his creation rather than the God as creation of man. So while he was in process of creative engineering, and when he came to a stage of designing man, he was loudly applauded by his subordinates, his deities. So they loudly applauded when the man was devised, when he designed man. And all the deities unanimously said, and deities wished to reside in human being more prominently. That is why human embodiment, if you recall, I had said that there is adidaivic aspect in human embodiment. All gods with applause prefer to enter human manifestation. And that's why those 330 million gods are in human embodiment. So the deities applauded this creation of man when the man was created, and then they wished and wishfully entered human manifestation to be residing. So, along with the king of gods called Indra, now therefore you must have a little idea of the Hindu Pantheon, as it is called, precisely Vedic Pantheon. King of gods is Indra, and all the deities under him, they entered the human manifestation. So they took their apartments in the inner mansion, precisely Pranamaya Kosha. So they all found their place, they had their own mansions in Pranamaya Kosha. So all the 330 million deities are in Pranamaya Kosha. So if you recall, this was also divulged to you as to what is Pranamaya Kosha and how all the celestial beings are the residents of this Pranamaya Kosha. Therefore, we call them Indriyas. This is just a matter for you to recollect. This was already divulged. They are called Indriyas. We don't say parts of body, we don't say organs of body, we don't say organs of mind, we say Indriyas. Sharirendriyas, Indriya. And I have told you about how the word Indriya has come. So, the reality is altogether different. So, you will have to understand the Adibodhik, Adidaivik, Adhyatmic constitution of this universe and this human being. Then you will realize that it's laughable postulation that the God is anthropomorphic concept. Because the fact and reality is that the whole creation is turned out by divinity. Man too, human being too, is part of that creation. So, divinity has created man, which is the reality, and actually it has been proved and it can be proved that it is reality. It is not just belief. So, these are the arguments put forth by anthropomorphists can be answered. The another story of man's creation is also interesting. But point is that one must look into human embodiment and look at this creation as Adibodhik manifestation with Adidaivik constitution with Adhyatmic support, substrate. This is how is the principle of this creation. At the center it is Adhyatma. That's the substrate. Adhyatmic substrate, Adidaivik constitution and Adibodhik manifestation. So we have to understand this metaphysics of creation, and the same thing in human being, it is microcosm. And therefore, same Adibodhik, Adidaivik, Adhyatmic constitution should be understood, which constitutes a human being. Now there is another story about man's creation in ancient scriptures, just as biologists postulate that life began in water. Now this is a scientific idea and everybody would nod the head at this mention that the life was born out of water and the animate creation began in waters. This is about our globe condition on our planet. So the first life or initial lives were aquatics. Now there is a story of creation in about Manvantar cycles. The Swayambhu Manu, first of the Manus. As you are told that there are 14 Manus, and first of the Manu is called Swayambhu Manu. And with Swayambhu Manu, there is launch of creation every time. So this is a cycle that takes about 300 million years. After every 300 million years, there is a new Manvantara coming up. So 71 Chatur Yugas have ended. And for 72nd Chatur Yuga, there is a Manvantar coming up. A new Manu comes up. But the creation as such is with Swayambhu Manu. He was the first of the 14 Manus. He first appeared in a tiny fish form. Swayambhu Manu appeared in fish form. And Manu's consort is called Shatarupa. Shatarupa means hundreds of forms. Shata means hundreds. So, if Manu takes form of he-dog, she becomes she-dog. If Manu becomes he-horse, she becomes she-horse. If Manu becomes lion, she becomes lioness. If Manu becomes tiger, she becomes tigress. If Manu becomes bull, she becomes cow. If Manu becomes he-cat, she becomes she-cat. And now this is the idea that has come in ancient Hindu scriptures, Indian scriptures, and see how there is logic. And therefore Manu and his wife is called Shatarupa. Manu takes all the forms, and then his wife as consort takes counter position. And with man and woman, just as biological creation comes up, with male and female as the biological creation comes up, the same is idea that has been given in our scriptures. So Manu takes the form of male gender and Shatarupa takes the form of feminine gender. So all the living creation is coming from Manu. Manu takes all the forms, living forms on this planet. And then the counterpart is Shatarupa, his wife. This is the arrangement in creation according to Vedic thought process and Vedic postulation and the scriptures. So this is how the idea of creation of life comes in Shrutis and Smritis. Thus, according to the theology, the view of anthropomorphist is very opposite of reality. Nevertheless, it is true that some cultures and religions and isms imagined, conceptualized and postulated God. And that is why it is said to be man-made. Concept of God is man-made. Here a question might be raised as to why human civilization and culture felt the need of God. What was the need? If the man has postulated divinity, what is the need to be postulating divinity and God? The religions and the forms of worships are needed for human psyche and consciousness. It becomes necessary. If man imagined God, why was it imagined? Should be a question coming up. The thing is that it becomes necessary for man to have something to be worshipping, and even maybe something to just be believing in. That gives comfort to human psyche. That's why you will come across that skeptics are never comfortable people. Skeptics, although they are very intellectual people, they are never comfortable people because of this doubt, the doubting mind. And maybe even a stupid person is quite comfortably placed in life just because of belief. He takes recourse to belief, and that belief gives him comfort. And the skeptics are betrayed of any comfort. This is the fact that you can find that the skeptics will never be comfortable. The skeptics are always uncomfortable. They are always agitated. They are always irritable. They are inflammable. They are not with any contentment. So they are deprived of contentment just because they are skeptics. Whereas stupid person may be very stupid person, but just because of the belief, he is in contentment. Now, whether that is false or true contentment is not topic to be discussed here, but he is contented. The point is that if man imagined God, and wherever it has happened that man imagined God, why was it? Why was it? Was it just time pass? Man needed something to be believed as God, which gave him comfort in life. So that is essential thing in human life, that the man must have contentment. Biological creature must have somewhere contentment. And particularly human being must have contentment. All life will be struggling for contentment, is struggling for contentment, has been struggling for contentment from time without beginning or time immemorial. So that kind of contentment is so essential to human psyche. For other creatures, they don't have to create something to get contentment. Their natural process might give them contentment, or whatever contentment they need, they might be getting. But the pravrutti of all life is to go towards sukha, delight, happiness, contentment, and bliss. Now, this is something that cannot be refuted. The thing is that even if God is an anthropomorphic concept, it is not time pass which made man create this concept. Man needed something where a man could have belief placed, belief invested, and this investment gave some comfort to human mind, human psyche, human consciousness. Or the man needed some upasana form, worship form, for similar things such as contentment and bliss. So it is essential for a man to have concept of God, to be comfortably placed in life. And those who are skeptics, or those who are agnostics, or those who are atheists, you will come across this fact that without exception, they are not contented. There is a discontent. There is intolerance. There is irksomeness in them. They are highly irritable, highly agitable, agitated. They are never quiet. They are never settled in quietude. Just because this doubt, skepticism will be disturbing their lake of consciousness. And for man to have this peace of mind, contentment of mind. The God is needed, even if they do not have the idea of God given to them by earlier generations. That's why they created a God in their generation. And now that they floated this concept of God, and others could take benefit of it. The point is, God is needed for man who wants comfort, settlement in comfort, settlement in happiness, settlement in security, and settlement in mind. So at this point in time, we will have to now understand a set of essentials for mankind. There are certain essentials for a man. If they are not available, man will create. If something is essential for you and if it is not around, you will try to create it. So similarly, if it was not available, if their lineage did not pass on the concept of divinity, the man created at some point in time. So now we'll be discussing a set of essentials for man. And there we will see how the God is so important, so essential. And if you do not accept the God in real form, you'll have to have imaginary form. What is wrong there? It is for one's comfort. So today we will be ending the session here to embark upon this, which is a set of essentials for mankind. If you are a human being, there are certain essentials. Let's try to understand essentials of human being, and let us see whether the God comes there and how it comes there, why it comes there. But that is for next time. Namaskar, all of you.